Are you still punishing yourself for a version of you that no longer exists? Maybe it was a decision you made years ago, a relationship you damaged, an opportunity you failed to recognize, a moment when fear, pride, anger, or confusion made the choice for you. You have replayed it so many times that the memory feels more real than the present. You remember what you said, what you should have said, what someone else said, and the moment everything changed. You imagine different endings. In one version, you tell the truth. In another, you stay. In another, you leave. In another, you recognize the value of someone before it is too late. The mind keeps returning to the past because it wants control. It believes that if it studies the event long enough, it might discover a way to change it. But the past does not open itself to negotiation. What happened has already happened. The question is, whether you will continue paying for it with your peace. Regret can be useful. It can show you what mattered, reveal a pattern, and teach you how to behave differently. But regret becomes destructive when it stops producing wisdom and starts producing only punishment. There is a point at which guilt no longer proves that you care. It simply proves that you have become accustomed to suffering. You may believe that forgiving yourself would mean avoiding responsibility, Seko. Perhaps you think that if you stop feeling ashamed, you will become careless again. But responsibility and self-destruction are not the same thing. Responsibility asks, what did I do, and what can I learn from it? Self-destruction asks, how can I continue hurting myself for what I did? One leads to change. The other keeps you trapped in the same moment. Look honestly at the person you were when the mistake happened. What did you know then? What did you believe about love, success, trust, or failure? What fears were controlling you? What pressures were you carrying? What had life taught you at that point? This does not erase your responsibility. It gives your responsibility context. You are judging your younger self with knowledge gained through years of experience. But the person you were did not yet possess that experience. They had not seen the consequences. They had not learned the lessons. They had not become the person you are today. A person is not a statue. You are not exactly the same individual you were 10, 20, or 30 years ago. You may remember that person, but you have lived through events they had never experienced. You understand things they could not understand. You have developed patience, awareness, and emotional strength that did not exist in the same form back then. The mistake belongs to your history. It does not have to become your permanent identity. There is a difference between saying, I made a selfish decision, and saying, I am selfish. There is a difference between saying, I hurt someone, and saying, I am nothing but harm. One statement describes behavior. The other turns behavior into a life sentence. When shame takes control, it speaks in absolutes. It says you always ruin things. You never change. You are impossible to love. You do not deserve peace. These statements may feel powerful because they contain fragments of truth. You may have made serious mistakes. You may have failed people. You may have lost years. But a fragment of truth is not the whole truth. A complete account includes your mistakes, but it also includes your growth. It includes what you did not know, what you were afraid of, and what you have done since then. You are not required to call the past acceptable. You are required to see it accurately. Ask yourself 3 questions. What was my responsibility? What did the experience teach me? How will I behave differently now? These questions are more valuable than asking how much suffering you deserve. If you lied, learn why you were afraid of the truth. If you avoided responsibility, understand what you were protecting. If you controlled someone, examine the fear beneath your need for control. If you neglected your health, ask what made you treat yourself as though you were disposable. If you stayed silent, understand what you thought would happen if you spoke. A pattern can be changed when it is understood. A label only imprisons you. There may be people you need to apologize to. If an apology is possible and appropriate, offer it without demanding forgiveness in return. A sincere apology does not say, I feel terrible, so please make me feel better. It says, I understand what I did. I understand that it affected you. I am sorry. I do not expect you to erase what happened, but I am committed to changing. The other person may not accept the apology. They may not want contact. They may never trust you again. You cannot control their response. Accountability means respecting their freedom instead of using your guilt to force a particular ending. Sometimes there is no direct repair available. The person may have died. The relationship may be over. The opportunity may never return. The years may be gone. When repair is impossible, you can still decide what the past will produce. You can become more patient with people who are struggling. You can speak honestly before silence becomes destructive. You can stop repeating the behavior that caused the harm. You can treat the people in your present life with the care you once failed to offer. You can turn experience into guidance. This is how regret becomes wisdom. Not by pretending that the pain was good, but by refusing to let it become meaningless. Many people say they wasted their best years. They look back and see the time spent in fear, the opportunities rejected, the years given to the wrong relationship, or the energy consumed by survival. The loss may be real. Some time cannot be recovered, but a difficult period is not always an empty period. You may have gained patience through hardship. You may have learned how people behave under pressure. You may have discovered what matters only after losing what did not. You may now recognize pain in others because you have lived through your own. You do not have to be grateful for everything that happened. You only have to decide what the experience will create from this point forward. The years behind you cannot be changed, but the years ahead can be used with greater clarity. Ask yourself, what deserves the time I still have? That question can change your life. Perhaps the answer is your health. Perhaps it is a relationship you have neglected. Perhaps it is work that gives you meaning. Perhaps it is learning to rest. Perhaps it is finally becoming emotionally available to the people who love you. There is no need to rebuild your entire life in one dramatic act. A different future is created through small decisions repeated consistently. Tell the truth a little sooner. Listen before defending yourself. Admit when you are wrong. Stop using old pain as an excuse to punish people who did not cause it. Allow yourself to receive kindness without immediately questioning whether you deserve it. Forgiveness may begin as a decision before it becomes a feeling. You can write down what happened, what your part was, who was affected, what you learned, and what you will do differently. Then write these words. I will remember the lesson, but I will release the sentence. This does not mean you will never feel regret again. Old memories may return. Certain places, dates, songs, and conversations may still bring pain. When that happens, do not immediately turn the memory into a verdict. Say, this is something I remember. That sentence creates distance. You are remembering an event. You are not becoming the event again. Then ask what the memory requires. Maybe it requires grief. Maybe it requires an apology. Maybe it requires a change in behavior. Maybe it simply needs to pass through your mind without being given control. You can feel sorrow without making sorrow your identity. You can acknowledge guilt without allowing guilt to decide whether you are worthy of love. You can remember the person you hurt without believing that you are forbidden from healing. Joy does not erase the past. It does not mean you have stopped caring. It means that the past has not destroyed everything. You are allowed to enjoy a meal, a conversation, a walk, a song, or a quiet morning. You are allowed to laugh again. You are allowed to make plans. Happiness is not a reward reserved for people with perfect histories. If someone you loved carried regret, you would not want them to remain miserable forever as proof that they cared. You would want them to learn, heal, and live with more awareness. You are allowed the same mercy. Your life is still happening. There are still people you can meet, conversations you can have, apologies you can offer, boundaries you can set, and experiences you can enjoy. The past may explain why you became who you are. It does not have to decide who you remain. You cannot change the person you were, but you can change what that history produces. Let your regret make you more honest. Let your losses make you more attentive. Let your mistakes make you gentler without making you weak. Let your pain end with you instead of passing into the lives of others. Eventually, you must leave the courtroom in your mind. The case has been examined. The consequences are real. The lesson has been learned. Continuing the trial will not restore the past. It will only take more from the present. You have spent enough time proving that you remember. Now let your life prove that you have learned. Do not carry every detail of the past as a punishment. Carry the wisdom, the responsibility, and the understanding, relation, the identity built around your worst moments. There is still time to live in a way that reflects the person you have become. The story is not clean, but it is not mishnish. You do not need a perfect past to create a meaningful future. You need the courage to stop running from the truth and the compassion to stop using that truth as a weapon against yourself. The past cannot be rewritten, but the next chapter is still in your hands. Take care of it.